Welcome to Raising Unstoppable Teens podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kimberly Shear, teen breakthrough expert. And my passion is teens, everything teens, and supporting parents with their teens. And today we are going to talk a little bit about communication in a rather interesting manner with our guest today, Dr. Joanne Lefebvre Connolly. So before we welcome her to the show, I'd like to just read her biography. Dr. Joanne Lefebvre Connolly, gosh, I'm stumbling, is a vegan intuitive veterinarian of the New World and author who empowers all animals and humans to live in balance as one with the web of life. She promotes intuitive medicine for the mind, body, and soul. Dr. Joanne guides humans in tuning in with their pets, themselves, nature, and the universe to make better, fair, and personalized medical and life decisions, prevent diseases and accidents, speed up healing, and allow for peaceful and dignified passing for our loved ones and ourselves. Dr. Joanne authored the book Animal Teachings from Hayley's Angels Methods in 2011. She is continuing to share the wisdom from animals in her second book with mind-expanding animal teachings to build a better, healthier, more balanced and sustainable society to survive on our beautiful planet. This is so appropriate after Earth Day. Animals can save us if we follow their guidance. They dare us to venture on many unexplored paths and discover their rich blessings. So please welcome Dr. Joanne Lefebvre Connolly to the show. Yay!
It's such an honor being here with you.
Oh, I'm so excited about this show and just learning more from you. So I'm delighted that you're here. So my first question is, what were your teen years like? As adults, we sometimes forget that. So
My teen years, I have fond memories. I have some memories I wish I had forgotten about, which are also very important. You know, the stumbling years, the what we call mistakes, but I've learned to see them as huge blessings, because when we're teens, we don't know what's going on. We're trying to figure out our path. We're trying to figure out who we are, just finding our own identity. So it's important to stumble around, try different paths. So, I took a few detours, luckily not too many. I had my fondest memory, obviously, was working in a wildlife refuge when I was a summer student. And so I worked for a couple years, and that's what really made me discover my passion for animals, which was always there when I was a kid. But as a teen, then I was so overwhelmed. You get bombarded with what you can do with your life. And animals were always my passion. So I'm very grateful that I was able to go into vet school and live my dream every day since then.
that is beautiful. And it is so important, I think, to be living our dream. I mean, that's what keeps us fulfilled for long term, right? Not just in the short term. So
I agree, and animals have always been my best teachers. More and more, I grew up with them, but and now I've rescued so many of them. They did just find me, one way or another, a horse, and now there's a pig living with us, and cats, dogs, chickens, rabbits, and every one of them is so unique in their teachings also, and they're like little messengers, and they communicate with us. So if we listen, so learning to listen to how they communicate with us, because it's very different than human to human. So those are the rich teachings right there. So I'm really grateful to be able to tell you more about what animals have taught me.
that is so cool. I'm learning more and more about paying attention to animals' behaviors as well as communicating, as a way of obviously communicating because they don't speak my language necessarily. So it's interesting because I'm really noting how much I've just have been unaware. And once I tune in, on a very basic level, not on your level, but when I tune in just a bit to their behaviors and try to sense what they're trying to communicate to me or what those things mean, it's really been eye-opening and helpful, and actually I love animals too. So, but it helps me to connect with them at a different and deeper level than just kind of not paying attention to some of those behaviors. So,
And I think that's the biggest challenge of modern day living, fast, 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 not taking time to slow down and stretch. And when you look at your animals, you're trying to rush out the door. Your cat will take a nice stretch, roll on its back. Your dog will, again, like chase its tail a few times. Like there is no time concept of rushing when it comes to animals. So they really bring us back to the now. Take a deep breath. Enjoy the sun, it's beautiful, feeling gratitude for being alive, and really looking at life from a whole other perspective than what society has turned us into. So very important.
that is beautiful. And just, the lesson of being grateful and slowing down. I mean, I know you'll share more, but that in and of itself is very powerful. And I know sometimes when I walk with my fiance and we have my dog Summer, who's older, so she's slower and he likes to just really, go fast. And I'm like, no, she wants to, smell the flowers, and,
Yeah.
and just take time. And so we slow down to do that. But I never thought of that until just now, that she's kind of training me to slow down. I mean, I think I'm helping her, but she's actually helping me to just slow down and make sure to take in all the beauty that's around me as I'm on my walk. So
Especially with their powerful noses, I
yes.
call it reading the news. They have to stop and they know which animal has been here, what happened in this area of, the path on which you're walking, because other animals have been there and they're so aware with all their senses. And I wish we had powerful noses like them, because we would relate more to what they're doing. We think like, oh, they're wasting our time. No, no, no. Like you said, they make us slow down, and meanwhile they're having their fun. They're having a blast, understanding what the world is all about.
Right. And marking different plants and flowers, right?
Exactly. Leaving their mark too.
That's right. Leaving their mark, leaving their legacy.
Yes. Yep.
So when did you, maybe you said this, but I didn't catch it if you did, when did you actually, at what age, was it firm in your mind that you wanted to become a veterinarian?
When I look back, I mean, it was truly the only thing I was meant to be doing. Um, at the time, I was still confused. I was looking through the books of professions because I had just taken general science studies, so I would leave all my doors open. And I went to see a counselor, and then he thought I should just do math, because I was good in math. But thank God, animals, again, I got those summers under my belt of working with wildlife to really um, focus on me, like who am I, and there's nobody else like me, and I need to have fun. And so I'm grateful for my parents to allow me also to say, just have fun, do this so you have fun. Don't do it for the money, don't do it for the fame, like for whatever, just make sure you have fun. So working, so that's when I applied for veterinary school, and I knew as soon as I got in, like, this is just my place, and I'll be able to, it's not easy. You don't do this because it's easy. You do it because you love it. You have to love it. But it's really allowed me to know more about myself. I've discovered, again, it brought out a lot of my strengths and weaknesses to work on, and it's just been this amazing journey. So we all have our place. No one else is us, there's only one person like us. And so it's important to really honor your own truth, So I'm grateful I didn't take any detours, because I saw other of my friends who believed what the counselor said, but other people, what's right for them might not be right for you. So I'm grateful, because it was mentally, difficult, but I managed to go where I was supposed to go. And that, in hindsight, I'm grateful. I'm like, oh, thank God I listened to my little voice that was not super strong back then, but it was still the right decision for me.
That is beautiful. I mean, I feel like you kind of listened to your heart, and yeah, maybe it was faint, but it was there. And I think you also bring up a really good point about, the money and career versus kind of purpose, really. And so often I think we're conditioned to think of career, money, because money allows us more choices and allows us to provide for our families and so forth. So I get that, but I really, really do believe that it's more important to really, I love that, look at what's fun, what really makes your heart sing. And even if it's different and goes against what's typically taught, like this career counselor, go into math or whatever, following your dream, following that little voice, which will get stronger and stronger, can make all the difference of really, I think, surviving versus thriving, if you will.
I agree completely. And I've realized now, again, in hindsight, when you do what you love, your body feels so much healthier, so much more alive, And so, as a veterinarian, again, helping animals, but also helping their owners, I've realized why do we get sick? I've come up with a lot of answers to that question. And one answer is fulfillment. If you're doing a job that you hate and you're dreading going to work every day, you feel like it's killing you, I mean, your energy level goes way down, and then your animals feel that, because they're little sponges.
Mm-hmm.
So they will also become sick with you right along, so the healthier, the more fulfilled you are, the happier you are, then your animals will swim in those beautiful energies around you, so it's better for them.
Oh, I love that. I can feel it now. Let's see. So, what are the best life lessons? We mentioned a few, but what are some other life lessons that animals have taught you?
So be authentic. I like that. I like that animals are goofy and they don't try to impress anybody else. We get so worried about what others will think of us, and needing to please others, and what does this person think of me? Am I going to meet their expectations? All that mind toxicity that, we don't need any of that. So I love being with animals because they're just themselves, 100% authentic. They take time to be goofy. All animals will play and be silly, and they remind us to keep our heart open, our child's heart, staying young at heart. It's so it's one of the best lessons, really. And laughing with yourself, again, we stumble, we make mistakes. Who cares? If you can just have a good laugh, laughter is great for the immune system. So again, animals just telling us, hey, we're just try to impress your own self, be happy with who you are, give yourself a hug when you do something silly, and again, go into circles, scratch your butt, roll in the grass. Life is good. It's simple. Simplicity. I try to really keep my life simple because it makes sense to me also. And it's just like, why waste energy trying to complicate things when again, like, we preserve a lot of life energy by just trying to go with the flow, keeping things natural. I love the naturality of life. Honestly, I'm one to be much happier outside, as opposed to in a building of cement, 4 walls. I feel like it's so unnatural. So I try to really be outside and very casual living. Like, that's to me the best thing about this planet. It's so beautiful.
It is beautiful and so nurturing. And that's one of the things I love just for me being outside, um, because it's space. I just feel like there's space, and then just things do flow, and my creativity flows, and just things pop that without really even thinking about it. And it's so different than when I'm trying to produce something, and I'm thinking hard about it and that kind of thing. And it's just really interesting. I mean, that's just a really simple way to kind of tap into your creativity, but yet we don't, always make it a habit, I guess, or trust the process. And so we just
And
hunker down and work.
and communicating with nature, that's another form of communication. When you're outside and you become creative, because nature inspires you, and wild animals, you're watching them, and so they are communicating. They're always messengers telling us um what we're doing wrong, or sometimes they'll show us, like, we attract situations that are teaching us different things. So when I talk about preventing accidents and diseases, um we attract different energies when we're out of balance. So nature always thrives to be balanced. It's teaching us to be balanced. So balance is a very important word in my world, and I see it in animals too. So when we're out of balance, that's when we get hurt, bad things happen, trying to bring us back to the essence of life. So they're great teachers.
Mm-hmm. Well, something quirky about me, maybe you won't find it so quirky, but I don't, just people who know me well know this. But when I'm out and about in nature, if something crosses my path, like the other morning, there was a coyote outside my deck. So I immediately oh my gosh, I want to look up what the symbolism, usually I go to the Native American symbolism. And, of course there's a list, so I do get to choose. So if I don't like the one that says be cautious, no, but seriously, I mean, I really pay attention to that, because I do believe that, or if I see a hawk, or, a hummingbird, which I love and represents joy. So every time I see a hummingbird, it to me reminds me of joy in my life, and to be grateful for that, and to be joyous in the moment. So I actually look at the animals that kind of cross my path, or that I notice when I'm out and about. Um, I will look up their symbolism and see how that's applying to my life for me right now, because I also believe there's a reason that that morning when I opened up the blinds, there was a coyote there. I do think there is a message that it had for me. So
I agree completely. I
yeah.
agree.
Oh man. Okay, let's see. Let's talk a little bit about your first book and what inspired you to write that book.
Animals have always been the best teachers in my life. So I really felt, again, like a window of opportunity opened, which came with actually quite a few authors who came through my life with their sick animals calling me for help. And so they helped me grow without even knowing it. I just became, by meeting them, I realized, like, all the signs were there. Again, nature, the universe was communicating with me, the animals saying, hey, you've learned so much through, my dog Hayley passed away at home. I had to euthanize her. That snowballed into an in-home euthanasia service that kept me really, really busy. And then I ended up feeling the need to write this book to share with others what I had learned, and how we can communicate with our animals in end of life situations, in day to day. Again, why do we get sick? Why do people and their pets end up sharing the same diseases? That's so common. So I talk about this in the first book. Um, all the animal teachings were just like coming out of my brain, like I had to put them on paper. And so I felt really grateful that I had an outlet, because I knew a lot of people had not learned those things that I had learned. And veterinary school had not taught me those things either. It was really, the animals on my path, and me being open to receiving their teachings, and a lot of my own animals. So, and then wildlife, and like you said, synchronicity in nature. situations happen, and then we become able to, we don't need the book to know what the message is, because we find our own message, which we main if we open up our heart. So, and then I talk about this in the book too, and how we can just become intuitive, and often, again, society teaches us that make all the decisions with our brain, in our head. The brain in our head is a great machine, but we have to think about the heart also, that makes great decisions. And so that's where the heart is, where we communicate with nature and the animals. So I had a big desert tortoise once that came visit, because I lived in Arizona. So we had this big tortoise that came to visit us, and we were actually thinking about moving. And the tortoise, and of course I looked up in books too, after I made up my own kind of message here. Okay, that makes sense. And then I looked up what it meant according to a lot of, I love Native American knowledge, wisdom. So, but this tortoise was telling us to stay put. The tortoise have old, ancient, again, wisdom. They don't go fast in life. Often, well, sometimes the best decision is to do nothing. So don't get too excited. Patience, animals teach us patience. You hate your situation and you think it's always better elsewhere. So this tortoise came and hung out with us for about like 20 minutes, and I had 2 cats with me also, and they were just watching this huge beast, just chewing through the desert. And so anyway, lots of those experiences that I share in my book to help everyone go into their heart and leave their brain. When they're both conflicting, we have to go in our heart. The heart knows always better what's our path to follow.
I couldn't agree more with that. And it takes practice to even tap into that. I think of like, I'm veering off animals, but I'm thinking of the analogy of like lifting weights for the first time and focusing on what muscle you're trying to, work. And you don't always have that mind-body connection. And I think sometimes it's the same, because you're right. We're so trained to use the mind, to think, to be logical. And that comes naturally. And sometimes it takes practice for us to really tap into the heart. But once you do, then you're immediately reinforced, because I absolutely agree. I think that's where a lot of our intuition and some of the not so logical wisdom and messaging, I guess, really lies. And when we follow it, it's amazing how much easier life is when we're listening to our hearts. And I also love the fact that you're talking about being open. You have to be open to receiving. And I think that's so important with communication. And obviously, we do sometimes get triggered and can be defensive. So learning ways to work around that, to prevent that, and just kind of being open and maybe not fearing the judgment. And then we can receive the messages and reflect upon them later and how they might apply to our life. And that only serves us, even if we don't kind of like the message. Like, honestly, if a tortoise told me to stay and I really wanted to move, I don't know if I'd want to listen to that. But honestly, once I had my space again and really reflected on it, I probably would listen to it, to be honest with you, because I've learned that.
And when you get hurt a few times not listening,
Exactly.
then you're like, okay, let's stop being stupid.
That's it.
Let's not my ego win over this. I'm gonna be humble, take in the teaching. Because when you start listening, the messages become so obvious. And we were looking to buy a house at some point, and I hurt myself, I swear, in like all the houses we visited that were not for us. I got an allergic reaction to my ankle, like one plant outside that I walked by just like gave me a major rash on my ankle. I got stung by a bee at the other house. Like everything was like, this is the wrong state for us to move in. Like it was just wrong all the way. We had our dogs with us. One of them got sick, vomited all over the car. Like there was, all the signs could not have been more clear. and it made us look elsewhere. And that was a different time. We had not moved when we see the tortoise, but then the energy came, the moving energy came a few years later. That's how I'm in Florida now. The moving energy was definitely swooping us, and we had to go because the Arizona chapter was ended. And then if you resist that, then you're going to get in trouble, and I had gotten almost into a couple car accidents. Like, I had scared myself enough, and I needed to close my in-home euthanasia service because I was way out of balance. I was working way too much. It was going to kill me. Like, ultimately, I had no life left, so I knew that I could not just give to others. I had to keep some for me. And so it was really difficult. It was the hardest decision of my life to say, well, I'm done helping here. I need to go take care of myself and my family. So by the time we moved to Florida, one of my dreams, actually my dream of little girl, was to rescue a horse. And I had never been able to fulfill that dream, because I was always busy helping everybody else. We moved to Florida. We had bought a little house on 4 acres of land with a pond, and they had a barn on it, but I had no thought of, I was not looking for a horse. As soon as we moved in, my next door neighbor comes over, first conversation, and she tells me, so are you ready for your horse? Because I know who he is. And I just like cried, because all the hurdles we had gone through, we had moved, I had saved myself, I was in a way better place. And this horse just was my present, my gift. And he needed rescuing too. He was an abandoned older horse. So him and I healed each other. The timing was perfect for us to meet. We had a grand time. Unfortunately, a few years later, he needed to go to heaven. But the way he communicated that with me was through a dream. He came through my dream. And in my dream, we were flying in heaven. He was young, healthy. He had turned into a white angel, a horse with wings. And I was holding him by the neck, and we were riding in heavens. And it was just like perfect. When I woke up and I went to the barn, and he was just in so much pain, he couldn't walk and he was done. And I knew I needed to help him. It was really hard, very hard euthanasia to do. But because of that dream, because he had communicated clearly with me, I knew that that's what he needed me to do, to save him, to help him be free. So there you go. When you learn to trust yourself, trust the messages, and jump off the cliff, it's scary. But then the blessings happen, and you know that, okay, next time I'm going to listen to that voice that's getting stronger and stronger also.
I love that. And for me, hearing that as well, it reminds me of, again, trusting it. And a lot of times as you stated before, we've done enough times just going the logical mind trap way, and it doesn't work, or we get hurt, which then it's like, let's change course and open up our heart and listen to it. So that's absolutely a lot of times the way we get there. But I loved what you, now I forgot what I was going to say about with the horse and all of that, and then not moving, and then the timing was right. And two things on that. I feel like when we make a request, sometimes it takes time for things to kind of get rearranged, right? On a universal level, for everything to be that perfect set of circumstances and perfect timing. And then the other thing that strikes me about what you said is, oftentimes when we have a request, we kind of have a certain way in our minds, again, our mind, of how it will show up. And one of the lessons I've learned is that most of the time it doesn't show up how you expect it to. And so again, getting out of my own way and just trusting my heart and and listening to my awareness or intuition, whatever comes up, and following that, even if it doesn't make sense, often is the way for me to receive what it is that I've been asking for. So I think that's a really good point too.
And I think we receive it in even a better way than what we had planned, Like, it's like, wow, I could have never planned this so well. And so I've learned to like you let go of the how, how it's all going to work out, and just put in the intention, and knowing that, okay, it's in progress, it's going to show up, and just like hits me like, oh my God, so much love, so beautiful. Like, thank God, like, thank you. It's a blessing. It's a gift from the universe, because we've been good at just letting it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I
And
love that.
be
And then we're
emotional.
back to flow, right?
Yep.
That really is, and simplicity. It really can be
Simplicity.
that simple.
Yep.
And I'm famous for getting in my own way. So, I have to remind myself about simplicity for sure. Um, okay, so the other thing I wanted to ask you, you've mentioned so much for me, that so many good, valuable golden nuggets in what you say, or have said. But I do have a question here, because I do feel like what you have is good advice for teens. Do you have anything more to add to that?
It's truly this, the younger you can be comfortable with who you are, with your strengths, your weaknesses, and hugging yourself and say, well, because ultimately you are the only person you're going to be with your whole life, so if you learn to just make peace with who you are, your quirkiness, and your uniqueness, your passions, and be different. We all want to fit in when we're young, but it's not the way to do it. So just celebrating who we are honoring our nature. So I would say to any teenager out there, just be you and enjoy being you, and be even more you. Don't hesitate to speak up, and wear whatever suits you, whatever you feel like brings you strength and make you feel like you can conquer the world. Because you're here, it's your life, it's your journey, and you need to do it the way you want to do it, so you have no regrets at the end of this journey. And we don't know how long it's going to be. Some people have more time than others, so I feel like living each day like it might be your last is a good way to go about life. You're just giving it all you've got each day, do your best, and then let go of the rest that you can't control, and enjoy this ride. That's fun.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I think also being you, and feeling empowered with that, or getting more and more empowered with it, I guess, because it can be uncomfortable at first, especially when it is about conformity. I mean, our world is pretty much like that. So to be different, especially as a teen, um, most of your peers aren't necessarily gonna be in alignment with that for themselves. But here's the thing, is that when you are you, and I loved what you said, just whatever is your preference, and you embrace your quirkiness as part of you, and that's part of the fun part a lot of times. You're inspiring your friends, and even people that you haven't even met, the freedom finally to be themselves too, and that they're okay just as they are. So I think that's huge, because you're not only being self-empowered, you're really an inspiration to others when you can be your authentic self, and and try out different hats. So okay, your first book that you wrote, what is the title of that again? We might have mentioned it in the bio.
Animal Teachings from Hayley's Angels Methods.
Okay, awesome. And then you have a second book that is it out yet, or?
It will be out this summer. I'm just finishing it up, and it will be the continuation. So Animal Teachings 2 from Hayley's Angels Methods, and we'll see how many will happen throughout my life here. Whenever the animals are pushing me to write, then that's why I follow. I listen and I follow.
Awesome. So how can our listeners connect with you and learn more about your services and your books and all of that?
On my website, www.hayleysangels.com. So it's HAYLEYSANGELS. Hayley was our first dog who went to heaven, and her legacy was the in-home euthanasia service. So we kept the spelling of her name. So Hayley. She was a rescue girl, and so Hayley'sAngels.com. You can find me there, and then I have all my links to social media and Facebook and email and phone number. So don't be shy. Honestly, I love to talk to others. I like to facilitate, make life easier for everyone else, four-legged and two-legged humans. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. If I can help the younger generation, I would be really happy to.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a guest today on Raising Unstoppable Teens. And for our listeners, I know, or I hope that you just got so much out of this. I certainly did. And hopefully you'll tune in to next week's show with a different expert. Thank you.